What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. Another edition of Knicks Weekly here. You know, the still Knick fans. It's supposed to be a recap and prediction show, but there's nothing to recap and nothing to really predict. So we just rocking with you. Very true, very true. Anyway, I'm here with my man, John. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. You know what it is, Ron. We're back at it. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, sharing the stage. And yeah, man, looking forward to today's conversation.
All right, all right. We've got another special guest this week that I'm about to introduce for you guys. But before I get to that, I just want to give a quick announcement once again. Just if you guys haven't done so already, there's still time. You've got until the 20th to get your NBA draft party. It's NBK draft party ticket. Sorry, I don't want to say the wrong thing. The NBA is not sponsoring us, so yeah, you still got time to get your NBK draft party tickets. There's announcements all around. The buzz is crazy. Special guests are popping up, and we're talking. I mean, you like Jay-Z. They're not going to be there, but if you like them, you're going to have other people there that like them as well. So I'm just saying, it's going to be lit. So definitely. But every day there are more and more people that you find in the Knick community or in Knick chats that are starting to, come up, and they're going to be attending. So this one is going to be great, man. Last year was the first. It was pretty cool. There was a lot of nice, new faces I got to meet. This year is going to be about those same faces and more faces, in person. Finally, all these people in the chat, this is going to be dope. So definitely, guys, if you can get your ticket, get it while it's hot. So that being said, now I want to get to our special guest. Now, look, I keep saying this. I've said this multiple times throughout the course of Still Knick fans. I don't know if people believe me. I've said it before. Part of the reason why John and I kind of got into this and my love for even thinking about a Knicks podcast was the fact of me watching certain people. One of those people is Simeon Russell from MBK. You guys already know that. You see the connection. Another one of those people, which I think is really instrumental in this whole Knick community growing, is my man Jay Ellis from the Knick of Time show. Okay. I first got to witness his greatness and his Knicks takes on the Knick Fans TV show. But then from there, I started to watch the Knick of Time show, and he was doing both of them simultaneous. And I'm like, me personally doing this with John, I'm like, this is a lot. I can't imagine running two shows at the same time. It must have been crazy. So anyway, guys, without further ado, this is a long time coming. I'm really happy. I look like I'm a kid in a candy store. Finally got Jay Ellis on the show. I know John and Jose are happy as well.
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Give it up. Give it up.
Man. More fire, rhythm beats. Bo.
Your gunshots, all that, man. Yo, thank you guys for having me, man.
I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming, man. We appreciate
coming
having you, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. This is Knicks off season. It's kind of been a lull in Knicks news, but this is a good time to dig into some prospects for the draft and kind of reflect, recharge, and prepare for next season as well all at the same time. So I'm doing great so far, guys.
Yeah, man. We've seen some of your work recently, doing some draft takes, of your own, with your team. I noticed, you had Raw on as well. There's a few others, you had some regulars on as well. So tell us a little bit about how that bit has been going on for you during this off season.
How am I approaching the off season, or just
just like with drafting and with that type of content? How are you approaching it?
It's funny. I've been working. So I've been working with a few people for a while. And shout out to Jake. Jake is probably one of the first people that I've done draft shows with, and it's crazy because he helped low-key helped my channel grow when he was doing a bunch of takes years ago, and it was kind of a mutually beneficial relationship because Knicks community is kind of small, and sometimes like people start to grow one by one, and one person is busy or he can't get available. You're like, all right, who else do I get? And his name came up, and I heard he was bright, so I said, bring him on. He came on, killed it. People were like, bring him back. Brought him back, and now he's gone on other Knicks shows after he's come on our show, and he's gotten little gigs here and there, and it's been great ever since. So then whenever I think about doing a draft show, I go back to the old favorite, Jake, let's go. And he's like, all right, I'm coming back. And he's always said like he loves doing our show because of how relaxed it is. It's not like all suit and tie and like on some, Nick Rathers news type of situation. It's like relaxing but informative. And so that's kind of how I go about, putting together shows. I try to reach out to the old faithfuls first and then branch out slowly as I grow. So if there's some more talent who I feel like is cool, I'm welcome to have them on the show as well, and talks Knicks basketball and the draft.
Yeah, you know what? One of the things that really, what I really enjoy about your show is that it's fan base, right? It's really low key about the fans and sort of out your, like the folks that watch your show, their takes on sort of what, and even if you follow the chat be going crazy, right, on your show,
right?
And so you can chime in with the chat and just like talk Knicks basketball behind the scenes while you're talking about what actually is occurring during the season, and it's so relaxed and so chill. And I find a lot of like-minded Knicks fans on your channel, and that's what I enjoy more. Like, the conversation is about the game. It doesn't get personal. It's really, you know what I mean?
Right.
It really talks about, trying to raise up our Knicks fandom, you know what I mean, in a positive way. And that's what I appreciate most about your show.
Thanks, man. Absolutely. And I enjoy engaging with the fans and all the regulars over there who's been following us since even before we was even on YouTube. We was on SoundCloud. There's some people who follow us from there to Knicks Fan TV to now. So, I mean, I enjoy really interacting with the fans. They low-key keep me going sometimes. Sometimes I'm exhausted and be like, yo, JL, this is a fire show. Yo, when's the next one? It's like, all right, get back up. Let's go. Next show. We got a plan. Let's go. So I really appreciate all the guys who give me all the feedback. It kind of helps keep the battery in my back doing it for so long, man. So I appreciate you guys for sure.
Yeah. I was definitely, I wouldn't say for sure day one, because I don't think I was with you during SoundCloud time, but I was with you before I even knew about the Knicks Fans TV. I was watching Nick of Time show, so that's where I first seen you and what you was doing on your show. So again, you inspired us in lots of ways with our show. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's really great to have you here. So what I wanted to ask you is, because as I've said before, I kind of consider your show, sorry about the background noise. I kind of consider your show like one of the, the pioneers for this whole Nick YouTube community thing. How did you get started with your channel? Like, how did it all come about?
Man, it started like early, like 2016. 2016, I wanted to do a podcast. Shout out to the OGs who was doing podcasts before I do podcasts, because they inspired me to do podcasts. So back in the day, there was a podcast that I used to listen to all the time. It was like the first like fan generated podcast that I listened to, and it kind of went away for a minute, and I was like, what happened? I was kind of confused. I was like looking for it and checking for it. So from then, I kind of started scouring like SoundCloud for other Knicks podcasts. And when I went scouring, I couldn't really find anything that I was really kind of related to. I thought, low key, I kind of thought everything was kind of whack, to be honest with you. So it kind of like dropped the seed from like, you know what, maybe I can do it my own. And at that time too, I wasn't even on Twitter. So I was going on Pro Sports Daily all the time, active in their in their chat rooms, wake up every morning on Pro Sports Daily. I was kind of like the Knicks news to my friends before Knicks news even hit the streets. It's like, oh, Jay, what happened? Oh, did you hear that this person? Yeah, I heard about that last week. To the point where people were asking me about Knicks news before they heard anything else, and it kind of just grew from there. And shout out to Anthony MSG, because he was like one of the first real Knicks podcasts to listen to, and he kind of helped inspire me to do it. So from then on, I knew a couple of friends who actually were Knicks fans themselves, and I wanted to get them on. Shout out to my guy Edson Sean, who he actually had a garage, and he was a musician, so he had a whole studio set up, and he was a Knicks fan. He used to hang out in his house all the time, and I asked him if he wanted to. I was like, yo, I want to start this Knicks podcast. You down for it? And him being the person he is, he's always down to do new ventures, so he's like down with it. Also met Kathy. I actually went to church with Kathy back when I was active in church, and I was randomly speaking sports with her one day because she was one of my sister's friends. And I was like, oh, she's like a sports head for real. So I was like, you know what? I really want a woman on the show too, to kind of give it a diversity. Because low key Knicks, the KOT had the first woman Knicks podcaster, even though she's out doing her own thing right now. But we had the first woman Knicks podcaster in the Knicks community. So we brought her on, and I was like, yo, I want to actually add a writer. And Kathy was like, man, I know somebody. His name is Ryan. He's really bright, and he writes too. And I was like, all right, bet. So I was like, cool. We got a sound guy. We had Kathy, and Kathy was actually a video person. We had Ryan, who was a blogger, and I'm into art as well. I'm a graphic designer, illustrator. So I feel like not only do we have Knicks people here, but I feel like we had our own kind of built-in team with specific skills that can help grow the thing to something else. And so we started it. We started right when Phil Jackson came on, and Derrick Rose was here, and Joakim Noah was doing pull-ups on Phil Jackson's arm. Brendan Jennings was here. We started around that time, 2016. First show, 30 minutes on SoundCloud, and then from then on, we kept going, and years later, we're here.
Right.
Wow.
And you made the move soon after that to YouTube, right? Like area and stuff on YouTube. Was that 2018?
Yeah, absolutely. We moved the stuff to YouTube in 2018. It's funny because we started a Nick of Time Instagram, and me being like an artist, we was going that page, and I was good at the visuals, so that page started growing fast just because I knew how the images work, and that helped promote the actual podcast, and that started to grow. And then I actually wanted to do more shows because we were only doing it once a week. And I was looking around, I was like, guys, man, the people who are really building it faster are people who are doing it multiple times a week, and are people who are doing it on video. Well, actually, shout out to Edson Sean. Edson said, let's do video. And that was probably his first move to YouTube. And then I was like, you know what? We need to do this more than once a week, because once a week, the news is starting to get old, and we need to try to keep up with it. And I was the only one who wanted to do it at the time. So it was kind of hard to get started trying to do it more than once a week when I was the only one interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's how we ended up going on to YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you guys had a good plan, and it looks like it translated well. Then you get onto YouTube, and guys like John saw you, and then I still hadn't known, because at that time I don't think I was big into YouTube sports stuff. I watch YouTube here and there for like videos and stuff, but as far as anything outside of that, I wasn't really exposed to it as much. So it kind of was like, it took me a little while to get into the mix of like Knick content and the Knick community and stuff like that. And then obviously, when I did start getting into the Knicks, I started getting heavy like in the 90s when they were playing well. And obviously I was at the age where I understood basketball now. What I did, get into all that. Going forward, when YouTube really blasted off in the 2000s and everything, And I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's some Nick content out there that really, talks about what's going on, because I was kind of jonesing for it. So then I started
Interesting.
looking for stuff, and I saw, Simeon Russell's show, Nothing But Knicks, and then I saw, there was another show, and I can't remember the name. Maybe it'll come back to me while we're doing this. There was another show that I saw that I was like, oh man, And then I saw Knick Fans TV, and I saw you on there, and I was like, okay, what's this about? So I was going back and forth between the two, and I was like, as a Knick fan, I had everything covered. I still had some ESPN stuff, but anything I missed or specific to my team, you guys had it down. So I was like, this is great. How did you go from all of that, doing the SoundCloud stuff, you got to YouTube, and then you got to Knick Fans TV, and then you were doing basically doing two shows at the same time?
It was a learning curve, because I think actually me getting off of SoundCloud and actually getting on other platforms made me realize, oh wait, there's other ways to kind of do it. I think Simeon might be the first person I saw on YouTube as well. And as I said before, I wanted to do more than one time a week. My crew at the time, they wasn't down. They was like, yo, I got lives. This is already a lot, doing once a week. I was like, God, maybe twice, maybe just twice. And then it was like, nah. So kind of what was happening was, to supplement because I wanted to do more, to create more, I started doing Instagram lives. I started doing post games on Instagram Live. And so because I kind of noticed that there was a bunch of Instagram pages. Because if you guys realize, if you watch us on Instagram, like, I'm probably one of the few Knicks channels who are big on Instagram and Twitter, and there's a reason for that. It's because I started off on Instagram. And so my Instagram was the Instagram was blowing up. I started doing Instagram live post shows, and I started to realize too that people were kind of shy on Instagram. There was big pages on Instagram, but they were shy. They didn't want to show their faces. So I was like, let's go. I'm gonna show my face. And the thing was, like, low key, I'm an artist. I'm really an introvert, to be honest with you. I didn't even want to do camera. It was more Edson who was kind of pushed me. He was like, yo, to get it bigger, we gotta go on camera. So I got comfortable slowly getting on camera, and I started doing post-game lives on Instagram, and then CP was doing the same thing. And then I was watching him, and he was watching me, and we was like, oh man, he's doing, I'm like, oh, he's kind of doing his thing, and he's not scared to be on camera too. And I think he was kind of looking at me saying the same thing. And then he approached me about doing YouTube. And when he approached me, like I said before, I was already trying to scheme, like, yo, I need to get on YouTube, and trying to figure out how to do it. And he was like, yo, I already kind of started doing it. So do you want to go with me? And then we talked about the particulars, and that's how I ended up on YouTube with Knicks Fan TV. Because it was timing. It was timing. Like, I was already headed there.
Nice. Wow. That's dope. Listen, well, I mean, I'm glad that you did decide to do that. I'm not saying I wouldn't have found the Nick of Time show eventually, but that's how I first got to see you, and I thought the work you were doing there was great. And I'm just gonna say this once again. If I haven't said it already, I don't care. I'm gonna say it once again. I think you were very influential in that channel growing. It's one of the best Knick channels on YouTube, and that's for a reason, and you have a lot to do with that. So salute to you once again, my friend. I appreciate you as always.
I appreciate it.
So that being said, you're not on Knick Fans TV. You're doing the Nick of Time show. You've got great, co-host, should I say, in Raw Hebrew. You've got Ryan with you. I like the mix because and I know John loves Raw Hebrew. It's the dynamic of you guys going back and forth, and the intellectual properties and how you think, and it's also a very chill. Because one of the things about still Knick fans that I do hear from a lot of people that watch us is that we have like a chill atmosphere, and I think that you guys have that as well, and I think that's what a lot of people like to gravitate towards. So,
Right.
how did that all come about? Because I know Raw has his own thing. I don't know if Ryan had a separate thing as well. How did that all come together?
From the jump, I wanted to be chill. That was very on purpose. Like I said, there was a portion where I was looking for Knicks content, and I kept running into like stuffy, buttoned up, all stats, or just like kind of weird humor that I really didn't get. So I came into the gate like, listen, I want a relaxed atmosphere. Weird. It was like weird, especially the old OKOT sound effects all over the place because it was meant for audio at first, not even YouTube. So sound effects all over the place. OKOT. We were talking Knicks, but we were also cracking on each other way more. Like way more. I don't know if you guys ever listened to the old like like the jokes we had on each other was what really made it fun. And it was just a relaxed atmosphere, and then so it's on purpose, and we brought it to YouTube. And right now, I'm just having trying to balance that relaxed atmosphere with some knowledge and analytics at the same time.
Yeah, facts. I mean, I tell Ron all the time, right? Like, limit the jokes. We don't want to go there. We gotta make sure we keep everything up and up.
Oh yeah, we was going at each other on KLT. It was fun. I'm sorry. Sometimes I even told Ryan a few times I would rile him up on purpose because it was funny, but
just to get him going.
Guy, man.
To get him going, it would be a great show.
He's full of jokes. Yeah, we have a good time. I mean, it's a little different for us because we're friends, so we're actually really good friends outside of this. And
right.
I don't want to say we talk every day, but it's almost damn near every day. So
we would have been talking Knicks regardless, even if we weren't doing this podcast thing. So it was like it just made sense. Ron, a little bit of history. Ron was always wanting to get into radio or do something with music and stuff, and so podcasting was a thing that was on his mind, and slowly but surely he was getting confident enough to start creating his own thing. I just kind of pushed him over the edge and was like, yo, let's just go. Let's do the first one. And once we do the first one, everything's going to be fine. And that's all it really took, and now he took this, and I have a lot more, things going around in my life that I can't, remove myself from. So Ron holds it down throughout the week, and he's pretty much in charge of producing more of what we do weekly. And I come on, twice a week if I can.
Right, that's the sub, and you need that team, right? The right team can make things work so much smoothly, man. So I really appreciate like the team building that we have at KOT, and hopefully to build it even stronger in the future for real.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, and John has been great. He's been real instrumental in us getting it going, and him giving me that push. He's really good at pushing. That's why I try to stay away from bridges when I'm around him. Right.
I told them to stop. Right, that doesn't work.
My fault. You did say stop. My bad. Hey, I'm here all day. Okay. Anyway, yeah, man. So yeah, once again, Jay Ellis,
is what you're saying, right? This is what you're doing. You want our guests to just turn off the camera and just leave.
No. We want to keep our guests. It's great to have you here, man. But want to get your take on some things that everybody really wants to talk about, man. That's the Knick rumor mill. There's things popping in the air.
Let's get to it.
And the first one is definitely a rumor. So,
okay.
What do you think about the possibility of the Knicks bringing back Kristaps Porzingis? It's been floated around a lot of different sites about how maybe his skill set and what he brings to a team is still a fit for the Knicks because we've never really addressed the issue. We've got a defensive center in Mitch that might be leaving. We've got Jericho Sims, who's an undersized power forward, if you want to. He's not even really a center. And then you've got Nerlens Noel, the Teflon Don, who is never healthy. So I guess that's why it's being dropped out there. What do you think? How would you feel if Kristaps came back, or how do you think the Knicks fans would take that?
Oh my gosh! I mean, I hold grudges, so it's really bad to ask me questions like this because first time I heard this, I was like, the first thing I said was, I don't date exes. That's the first thing I said.
Nice take.
Facts.
So I'm just like, man, are we really gonna bring back Kristaps the Snake back to NYC? Because it's not gonna even just be Kristaps the Snake. It's gonna be him and his brother, who's trying to be influential and making moves and thinking they big time. It's like I still have PTSD from when he was here the first time, and I felt dumb. I felt dumb defending the bro when he used to have his little sneak diss Instagram posts and his stories. Kind of was like. So I remember all of that. All of that. My memory is not short. So, I mean, but the reality of the fact is, like, okay, I get he makes basketball sense as far as skill set, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's injury prone. He hasn't played more than 30 games a season, and it's like he's paying him 36 million a year. The only good thing I can say about it is. The only good thing I can say is he only has 1 year left on his deal. This will be so. If we do get him,
he's got 2 left.
If we do,
so this one and next year,
2 left. Now is the last year
like 36
team option? It's a player option. Oh, it's a player option. Okay, it's a player option on his last year. So it's like. I don't know, man. I feel like it's like one problem for another, man. I'm leaning towards no. No, I'm good. I'm good on it, man. And I know we need a stretch five, but there's other stretch fives out there that aren't, divas. So I rather take who aren't divas and can be healthy. So I'd rather take my chances with some other ones, or move on from the Kristaps Porzingis experiment.
I hear you. What do you think about that, John?
I'm on the same boat, man. I don't want to see no X come my way. So
no retread.
No, sorry. I'm a married man. So
I hear you.
I'm married to these Knicks too, man. So I don't want to see them keep progressing backwards. You know what I mean? Like we'll just we'll turn the page. Let's turn the page for real. You know what I mean? And let's get younger. Let's get some younger blood in here and allow for them to gain experience with each other. And grow from there, man. We can't keep reverting back to bringing back, old Knicks or players of the past, because we had them at their brightest future, right? We had them at the highest point. And if that didn't work out during the time it needed to work out, then it's not meant to be. So I think it's time for us to move forward.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And the other thing is, listen, just the marriage wasn't a good one to begin with. There's a reason why they shipped them up out of here. And, even though there's a different front office, Scott Perry was one of the people that helped get him up out of here, and Scott Perry's still here. So I don't know if Scott Perry wants to revisit Kristaps.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. I don't think he ain't really ready to rock with that guy again, especially not his agent, manager / brother, whatever. I think he's good on that.
He's not out in the building.
No, right, exactly. So being that I did mention Mitch, I really don't know where I don't even know if the Knicks know what's the deal with Mitch. I think the media is curious. I think they're starting to get closer to poking. They can't find Mitch to really ask him, but I think they're starting to start poking because there's too many, is Mitch leaving? Is Mitch staying? Mitch wears T-shirts that say one thing. Mitch is wearing Knick basketball gear while being in New York with his friends or whatever. What is he doing? Is he staying? Is he leaving? I think he's leaving, and I think that it's not even about the money. I think it's about the role. I think that's going to be really important for him. I think he wants to do more in the Knick uniform, and I don't think the organization or even specifically Tibbs sees that for him right now. So I think he's going to be piecing up out of here because of that. But I say that because we already know there's a bunch of teams that are interested in him. The Warriors have they've had interest in him. Detroit has said they're interested in Mitch. Now we're hearing stuff about the Chicago Bulls being interested in Mitch, and I'm
Yeah, that's
not going to, not give credit to where I knew the Bulls were interested, but I did not know this. So I want to give credit to Sim and the rest of the gang at MBK because they did mention that the Chicago Bulls have money coming off their cap. They've got about like 49 million or so to work with. I did not know that, and that's kind of scary because if the Bulls are interested in Mitch and they've got some money to work with, that's a sexy looking proposition over there. What do you think about Mitch winding up on the Bulls, Jay Ellis?
On the Bulls? Can we do a sign and trade for Levine? Can we? That's the first thought.
I mean, listen, that wouldn't be a bad idea if Levine was interested in coming to the Knicks because they both in the sign and trade. I believe both players have to agree, right? Because you're big, right. So I think Mitch wouldn't necessarily turn that opportunity down to be signed for the max and go more money and go to the Bulls. Because that's you're basically going to be on a contender.
Yeah, I mean, would Mitch want to go there? Because here's my thing about Mitch going. Now, I agree that I do feel like the likelihood of Mitch leaving is high, but I feel like it's more about the money. But to me, come on, Mitch has made what $1 million. He's been underpaid for years. So when your first time to get some money, you're going to go after the money. I always say this, like all the young cats, I feel like for the first few years of their contract is going after the money. And then right around 28, 29, 30, you start thinking championships and roles and thinking about that stuff. If you even get to that point at some point. But if you've been underpaid for, I don't know how many years, he's outperformed his contract. He's a second round pick who most people believe at this point. If they redrafted the lottery, he would be a first rounder. I would think he want to go after the money. But to me, it's going to be in conjunction with the role, right? So I don't even think, to me, I don't see the Bulls as number one option because I feel like you'll have more of a role with OKC or Detroit because he'll be the ipso facto starting center in my eyes. So I feel like it's less likely the Bulls and more likely other places. For me, but it would suck to lose to Mitch for real. Like I said this on the show before, like we cannot have this guy here for 4 years and lose him for nothing. That would be horrible. So it would be a waste of talent. So I feel like we need to sign him at least to keep him in the building, even if we don't know what to do with him in the future because of the clumsy fit with him and RJ and Randall. I'm sorry, I try to forget his name all the time. And Randall, like even if he doesn't naturally fit, I still feel like we need to sign him and then decide if we should move him later on, just so we can get assets back because we just invested way too much into Mitch.
Right.
Way too. Right. Just let him walk for nothing.
Yeah. What do you think about that, John?
In the same vein, what's interesting is that last year, the talk was, should we be signing him and offering him a contract extension? I mean, that's where my mind was. I thought that's what the Knicks front office would have been doing in order to hold them true for this season and into the future. But that didn't happen. So right now, it seems to be that we're just trying to see what the market is on Mitch. And if it is priced a little high, then we probably won't bid for him and allow him to just disappear. But I think if the market is comparable to what the Knicks are planning to spend on a center, I think they'll make an offer. But I think they're still waiting and seeing what that market looks like. At least that's my hope.
Right. And just so shout out to the chat once again. I see people saying JJ Diehard. Yeah. They do already have Vucevic, but one thing you guys got to know that you've already witnessed in how the Bulls put their roster together last year, they are a little unorthodox. They decided to go heavy on the starting five. Their starting five was one of the best starting fives in all of basketball, but then they kind of neglected the bench a little bit. They still had some good pieces, and that's why they got off to such a hot start. But then once you realize when guys start going down to injuries, now you don't have that star power throughout the roster to sustain you. right? But I say
Right.
that to say, apparently the Bulls are interested in having Mitch along with Vucevic. Yes, because Vucevic stretches the floor. So I guess they feel that one, while he's stretching the floor, Mitch can roam the baseline and grab the boards and all that. But also Vucevic is not at this point in his career, he's no longer even trying to be a defensive presence. He doesn't really affect or alter much, and he's not the greatest rebounder that he was back in his Orlando days. So the fact of
Right.
getting Mitch and keeping Vooch, they think they have like a two-headed monster that they can really roll with. And if you lose Levine, you still keep DeRozan and you got Lonzo. They'll still have a pretty formidable team over there. So they got a plan, and I don't know if it'll work out, but that's what they're thinking apparently.
So you saying they're gonna put Vucevic at the 4? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
That's
Yep.
crazy.
And dropping Patrick Williams to the bench.
Right.
Hey man, listen, the Bulls are doing some different stuff over there. They got different plans, so
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
But just
Right.
as a rotational piece, I mean, you can swap those guys in and out of a lineup, because you have the young, that the young draft pick who can come in, and he didn't have a full season last year, so he's coming
Right.
into this season looking to be prime. He was projected to be up there and sort of playing for at least the beginning of the season, playing for Rookie of the Year. But we'll see if next year allows him to play more games, and if he can stay healthy. He's supposed to be the real deal. So yeah, there's a possibility that they could be interchangeable, especially at center.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and the other thing. No, my fault, Jay. Let's go ahead.
I mean, for them to sign him as a free agent, I guess they would have to make him a promise that he's going to start. Because I would not think the allure would be, hey, come to this team where you be off the bench, where you're leaving your team when you've been playing starters minutes. I don't think that's going to be the pitch. So maybe you're right about it.
And I was just saying to JJ's point, Vooch is going to get destroyed at the 4, and how having him guard power forwards. Remember, just because a person plays a position doesn't mean that's the person they're going to be guarding on the opposite end. Vooch can play the 4 and still take the center, and Mitch is versatile enough that he can guard the 4, even some threes. Not the guards like he used to. He's a little slower footed now, but he's still versatile enough to guard 4s and 3s.
Yeah, in spots, but not full time. But that's going to be.
I know. But it's kind of just like what we saw when with Mitch on the Knicks, how he would be guarding Antetokounmpo sometimes. Julius would be guarding Antetokounmpo. They'd switch, and Antetokounmpo's the 4, a very dynamic 4, might I add. But they would just keep switching. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's a thought, and because of that thought, it made me think about maybe we should really think about how to use Mitch to help get the Knicks into a better position. Now, once again, that means Mitch has to acquiesce. He has to say, "Sure, I'll do it," but I don't know if he's just willing to just do it for whatever. Like I'm thinking, how could we use Mitch to move up with Sacramento to get that 4th pick, or how could we use Mitch maybe to get the 7th pick from Portland? But I can see why Mitch might think about Portland, because you got Dame there over there, and Dame wants to win now, so that they might put something together fast. He'll still be the guy over there because they don't have a big that you really got to fear over there, so Mitch could get that role. But I don't see how they could convince Mitch to go to Sacramento. Sacramento,
Right? Nah, I agree with you. Even OKC, but I mean Detroit and OKC have the bag. I can see that happening. More so Detroit, if you're talking about places to live in general.
Mm-hmm.
But Detroit has the bag. OKC has the opportunity. He'll get all the minutes there and the bag, and probably some freedom to try some stuff out as well, because they're just trying everything over there. So I can definitely see it, man. I can definitely see it.
Plus he's limited with the Knicks too, right? Like they don't really involve him in the offensive scheme whatsoever. Right, they only ask him to do specific things, that he's probably the best at. But he's. It always seems like the offseason he's always practicing some or adding some new things to his tool belt, and he doesn't get an opportunity to be utilized. It's predicated on pick and roll and him driving to the basket.
Well, last season he was injured, so like people will talk about last season, he never had anything. Usually, if you're an NBA player, when you do your most work is the offseason. That's when you start to see little wrinkles, step backs, and jump shots and that. Last season he was injured, and people forget the Knicks hid that from us. Like they said he was injured, during that. What game was it? The Bucks game, or I forgot what game did he have like a double game? They said he was injured that game. They said he was supposed to be ready to go for the summer, and then they hid his injury again, and all Mitch had to do was lift. So when we first see Mitch, he looks like some, WWE wrestler with these big old muscles. All he's been doing is lifting and not playing any basketball. So when people say, well, he hasn't grown his game, well, this summer he didn't really have the chance to grow his game. So I don't really hold that against him, really. Now, also the other thing to consider is with I feel like they were teasing Mitch shooting. And then it went away. Remember the season before? Tom Thibodeau was like, "We got a surprise for you. We got a surprise for you. Mitch is about to show you something. And then nothing happened. So I don't like that. That statement made me think, wait, was that Tom who wasn't open, or was that Mitch who wasn't open? Because Tom is the same guy who would let Joakim Noah run point center and shoot, and shoot foul shots that were, like tornado jump shots from the foul line. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what happened here, but I know this summer he's actually healthy. Hopefully he can start to grow up his offensive game a little bit and get the confidence to show it, because he definitely has the confidence to show it versus his high school friends in the summer. But I want to see it in the NBA, at least a little bit.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, you'll see a glimpse here or two, like with him, keeping the ball from time to time and driving to the basket, but like it's very inconsistent. It's not throughout an entire game. You may see it once or twice, in one game, but you won't see it throughout a season from multiple, parts of the game. Where he can definitely take advantage of his quickness and to the basket. I wish he could do it. Take some guys off the dribble a little bit more, especially off the pick and roll, because they're like. The disguise is there. They just expect him to be the pick guy only, and the guy who's going to roll to the basket. If he holds that ball just a second more,
That's a fact. And the thing is, too, people lay off him so much. Like, I feel like you can either shoot that jumper, which maybe he doesn't have the confidence to do that yet. But like you said, his handle is so good. Sometimes I'm wondering maybe, take that running start at the rim, since you can handle a little bit, and bang it on somebody's head and see what happens a few times. Because I do have, like you, I have a little bit more confidence that he can do simple dribble moves over his shooting at this point, because he's been such a low free throw shooter. You already know free throws are indicators of what you can do as a jump shooter. So I want to see him at least develop that part of his game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be nice. I mean, I think Mitch has earned. I mean, we've seen some bad basketball play from guys who have been given the green light. I would think Mitch has earned at least a shot to do, take some liberty, try a couple moves in the post or what have you, attempt a 18-footer. Like, I mean, I know some. The thing about Mitch is, I think the good and the bad is he wasn't the greatest free throw shooter to begin with, and then you bulk him up. Then he's got these big, massive arms, man, and he can't shoot because his arms too big. Like, come on. Like, he's like,
he went Mark Stoudemire on us. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember Amari Stoudemire?
Yeah. Amari's the same thing.
Yeah, he gained the weight, he got muscular, he couldn't move. He was walking around like this. His back muscles was touching his ear, and then he lost his athleticism. The same thing happened with Mitch. Mari lost the weight, he got more athletic. He got back to normal now. Same thing with Mitch, man. Mitch will be fine.
Yeah, I think Mitch is gonna be good. I mean, the reality is if we can if he can stay with the Knicks and continue to be healthy throughout the season, I think he's gonna be he will become a staple here in New York, and beloved by New York fans. If he continues to shoot a high percentage from the field, which is a key point. He's a good defender. Could be even better, given defensive strategies and the folks that we bring in, depending if we bring in some longer defensive style wings. on this team, because the more versatility you have on the defensive side, the better that team would be. Our Knicks team would be with a Mitchell Robinson at center.
Right.
So I'm hoping to see that. I'm really hoping that's what will end up happening, that we match an offer, or we match an offer that's out there, and that he takes it and thinks about his future here in New York.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see. We'll see what he does, because I get it, and it's just his time to get the bag. I'm just hoping that Mitch says, I was making 1.8 or whatever it was. You give me 14 or 15, I'm happy with it. I don't need 18. 14 is, that's more millions than I've ever seen in my life, and that's per year. I'm just hoping that it's something like that, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I think, and you know what? Nick Yak just put something in the chat about Jovic equaling Reggie Miller / Brunson equals Mark Jackson. Resign Mitch. We're getting out of the first round of playoffs. Guess you're really high on Jovic. Well, that brings me to something I wanted to ask you guys, and I'll start with you, John. Look, could the Knicks move up to 4 with a Sacramento or to 7 with a Portland? Yeah, it's always a possibility, but realistically, it's going to be very tough for them to do something without giving up too much, more than they probably want to. And then again, you never know. Maybe these teams, no matter what you try to give them, say, no, we value this pick. We want these players. So it's tough, right? My whole thing is if they try that and they can't do it, because we know how the Knicks move, especially these past couple years. Last year, definitely, they like to move down. So I think it's a real nice spot, which I know everybody's looking at. Who's ever thinking about moving down? They're all looking at Charlotte, because Charlotte's got 13 and 15. And if we could somehow package something, one of our other picks, maybe a future year or something, it might even take the second round pick. I don't know, but that and something else we'd have to give them our 11th pick and move with like a Charlotte to get 13 and 15. Because what I would really want, to be honest with you, if the Knicks can move up to get Ivy or something like that, of course I want that, or Benedict Mathurin.
Right.
But if that's not going to happen, I almost don't really want to stay put at 11. I'd rather them try everything they can to mess with Charlotte and give Charlotte something sexy to get 13, 15, keep 42. Because I still think that in this draft, there's some guys out there that have some interesting talent. It's a little raw. It has to be molded. You got the Kai Sotos of the world, the Kolokos of the world. There's guys out there that, Knicks could pencil in as bigs. Or even as a guard, there's a Dalen Terry who might be similar to a Dyson Daniels. Like, he might be Dyson Daniels light. You bring that guy in at 42, you got to steal. You know what I mean? But if the Knicks get 13 and 15, this is when they might be able to go out and get Nick Yak's guy, Jovic, and they still might be able to get somebody else good at 15. I think that maximizes the talent for them, because I think the Knicks are in the talent and acquisition business right now. We need as much talent as possible. And then you can cut the fat. Like, then you can start getting rid of the 3 of the 6 guards you got playing the same position. You could kind of start trimming the fat. What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one right way, right, when it comes to drafting or picking for an NBA team. There are multiple ways that you can draft, and you can put together a roster a certain way. There's multiple ways of doing that. You can go via draft and go young, or you can do trades, sign-in trades, all of those different ways. The reality is that we need a team that's going to be more cohesive come next season. And the best way to do that is, bringing in some new, fresh talent that can, learn a new system, work within a system, work from foundation fact, you know what I mean? Like portions of their game, like really understanding that it's a culture that we're trying to build here in New York, and we're not winning any championships within the next 2 to 3 years, so we have to grow. And I think that's the most important thing for me, is that whatever it takes for us to grow and bring kids in that are going to be a part of the growth of this team, that's all I really want to see. And at a certain point, I agree with trimming the fat. We can't keep a position filled with so many different guards and wing players that all are some of them are undersized. And if you're expecting these players to then transition into other parts of their game where maybe they could do it in moments or in spurts, but having Burks play a point guard position doesn't do him any good, and it doesn't do our team any good. So we have to look at what we have, and the front office has to really make an attempt to get better for next season.
Yeah,
right.
no, I agree with you on that. Just wanted to shout out Long Island Sound. I know, bro. I know it's hard to have a lot of confidence in the front office. They haven't shown us enough for us to believe in everything they're doing. They still are on the clock, if you will. So I hear you, but I'm hoping for the best. Jay Ellis, what do you think about the Knicks? If they're serious about trying to move up, great. I would love to see it. But if they can't do it, what do you think about them, the possibility of them not staying pat and moving down, because they've shown us a history of doing that, and possibly maximizing the talent, getting 3 picks out of it, doing something like that if they could?
I mean, my thing is this: if you're getting multiple picks, I don't know if this is the year for multiple picks, considering the amount of youth that we have on our team and the amount of youth that's not getting playing time. So, like, I wouldn't even, like, if you're going to move down and you feel like you're going to move down to get like a project, where it's like, you know what, this guy could be nice in like 3 or 4 years, and that's the assumption and that's the timeline. There's no pressure. I'm cool with that. I'm also cool with even trading out this draft completely if you feel like you don't have the guy you want this year, and maybe kicking the can down the road to next season in 2023, where there's even supposed to be even a deeper draft with even more talent. And like you said, it kind of frees up some guys here, like, because like you said, there's a glut at guard, there's a glut at the wing. We need to kind of move some pieces around to make some of these young guys actually play minutes. Because my assumption really, like, say we do stay at 11, is anybody at 11 really beating out, Evan Fournier, Grimes, and all these guys that are having a depth chart this season? I'm not sure. Like, Grimes to me was the best defender wing we have, and it took him to the latter half of the season to even crack the rotation. So for us to bring like a top 11 pick into that same situation, it just seems like I already know what's going to happen. He's not going to see time this season unless our roster just drastically changes by the time the season starts. So I'm with trading down for a super project with no expectation, or even moving out this draft completely and kicking the can down the road again, picks for next season where we're supposed to be even a deeper drafts.
Yeah, that's a great point. We talked about that, Ron, about like the front office. You have to move some pieces in order to bring a wing player. You know what I mean? If the idea of going into this draft is going for a wing player, you have to move some pieces. You can't go into the season with Cam, with Fournier, with Burks, Barrett, Grimes. Like, there's nowhere for that person to fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if you look at that and you say, okay, so we're looking for a big to bring in during our 11th pick, then you only gotta have maybe 2 or 3 prospects that are even worth your while. You know what I mean? Potentially,
right?
And so at that point, you can then trade down if you need to, go further down in the draft. But I just don't know. I look at this and I say the front office has a lot of work to do. And hopefully they're on the same page with Tibbs. Unlike last year when Tibbs was speaking highly about bringing some length and some athleticism, and all of a sudden we didn't do any of that. So we'll see.
Yeah, we have to grow. We have to grow our assets. We have to grow our assets. Like, we have guys here in Quickly and Cam Reddish, who I feel like is a candidate to not be here next season as well. And Grimes,
right.
who we have guys here we see them here as Knicks fans up here, and the NBA season is down here. But the only way for them to be up here where we are is if they get playing time. And so they have to have playing time at the end of the day to kind of appreciate their value. And whoever we get at 11 right now, they're not going to be the priority.
Right. And
I
that's
will. I
Tibbs.
will say
That's
this.
Tibbs' motto, right? Like he hasn't changed much. He's comfortable with the teammates with the team he's put together, the roster that he has playing. So that isn't going to change.
We know that Tibbs is stubborn. It's gonna be tough to really get him to budge on anything, even if he said what he said towards the end of the season last year. If we can believe that, I think that this is probably one of those drafts that you got to watch, and the Knicks are going to watch closely to see who gets drafted. Because if somebody falls, like if the Knicks get to 11, and even though I'm saying to trade down or what have you, if at 11 Johnny Davis is sitting there, then I think you got to go get Johnny Davis, because I feel like Johnny Davis is Quentin Grimes, but a better offensive player. So I think you get more value out of him. He might make Quentin Grimes expendable, in my opinion, because I think he's that good of a defensive player. And what he brings offensively, Grimes just simply, he just can't. I don't think he can do that at this point.
If he can shoot a three. If he can shoot a three, because he still has to play next to RJ. And he still needs floor spacing. But I understand what you're saying. It's another shot creator. But
yeah.
But
but I hear you, and that's true. And then that's the kind of the funky part, right? Because Grimes technically is a better 3-point shooter than Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis is more, 20 feet and in, that he lives in that zone. Like, but what I like to say about people, and I hope people never forget that, because it's always shown true. If you can shoot twos, you can eventually shoot threes. We've seen it happen with all the centers, the Al Horfords of the world, all these big men. Brook Lopez was a great 2-point shooter, great 18-foot shooter. All of a sudden, he's a good 3-point shooter. Like, if you can shoot twos, eventually you can shoot threes. That's how I feel. I just want to say another example would be DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
Great 2-point shooter. Now he's expanded his role. He doesn't take many. He might take 2, maybe 3 once in a blue in games, but he's shown that he can shoot threes here and there. It all depends on what you focus on and how your development goes. So we'll see. I just think it's really interesting, and I'm definitely excited because it's right around the corner now. Like, it's creeping up on us.
Right. Yeah, and when I think about teams that are successful, I said this before too. Like, you can't have one. You only can get to the champion, to me, if you have 4 shooters minimum. You can't have. If you have less than 4 shooters, you're screwed, to me. So that swing skill of shooting has to hit for John Davis to be successful. But that also gives me the question about Mitch Robinson long term. But that's a whole nother conversation about team chemistry and all that stuff. But I digress. Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say is that if he can become that, if he can get that to that Dwayne Wade level, to that Devin Booker level, to that DeMar DeRozan level. Sometimes, even if you're not a great 3-point shooter, the ability to be able to knock down a key jumper when your team needs a bucket, that's huge. Because we've seen how DeMar DeRozan could take over games. I mean, we've lost games to them. We've lost games to Kevin Durant because we couldn't stop him from hitting a 20-foot jumper. It's just money. So sometimes if you can get somebody like that, it's helpful to have that too. But I do agree with you. You got to build some 3-point shooters around your team. You need that in order to be successful in this day and age.
That's a fact. Because what I hear about Johnny Davis is, he's going to be better at the next level because he's going to have NBA spacing. And then he comes to the Knicks with no NBA spacing. You know what I'm saying? So
That's a fact. Great point, man. That's a great point.
I'm just saying.
You gotta know who's running your team. That's the reality. The front office has to coincide with what Tibbs wants and how he wants to direct his team. Because if they aren't talking and they aren't developing the scheme together, you're gonna get the wrong players.
You can have the right players in the wrong mix. You can have the right players
in the wrong mix. Yep, you're right about that.
True. And being that we were talking about the draft, I would be not doing my due diligence if I didn't mention, this week it was talked about that the Knicks invited Marjon Beauchamp to the Knick camp to work out for them. He's a 6'6", 200-pound wing. Another wing, guys. This draft is full of wings. He played for the NBA G League team. I believe it's the Ignite team. He averaged 15 points, 7 rebounds, 7.3 rebounds, 2.3 assists. And I think, even if you want to say, okay, it's G League numbers, I get it. But remember, the G League for some of these guys is in replacement of being in the NCAA tournament and being at a college school. So,
Right.
you take the numbers with a grain of salt, but that's still numbers that the guy's putting up. And in that G League Ignite or Elite team, whatever it's called, there was a bunch of guys on that team. So, it's not like he's featured all the time. He's fighting for playing time and exposure, just like everybody else. And that team is pretty stacked. I think there's 6 or 7 young prospects that are allowed on that team. Excuse me. So, I think it's good to know, and it's interesting. The Knicks are definitely doing their due diligence. He might be a second-round talent. He's not somebody you draft at 11, but he might be a second-round talent if they decide to keep their picks. He could be there at 42, and I think they're really watching who they bring in and making it as good of a competitive battle as possible. We saw what they did with other players that came in a couple weeks ago. So they're definitely one thing I can say about, I don't know if it's Leon Rose. I like to give credit to Scott Perry because Scott Perry was doing it with Steve Mills here. They do their due diligence. They look at people.
Oh yeah, they definitely do. And I actually heard a rumor that they don't even do that necessarily to draft all of them, but just to have a contact, just in case they become good later. They already started a relationship with them. I've heard that little wrinkle a year or two ago.
So that makes sense.
That makes sense.
We know, one, it's smart business, but also, we know this Knick front office is all about relationships. That's what we got, full of relationships.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I think that's pretty much it. Like, that's kind of the stuff I really wanted to touch on. That's the stuff that's been going on in around Knick circles. The only other thing that I kind of wanted to get your opinion on was, and this is for you as well, John, what do you guys think about, now this is a real possibility because this could happen, the Knicks possibly bringing back Carmelo Anthony, because, we don't know when this is going to happen, but at some point, and some people think it's now, he should be on a farewell tour. And this next upcoming year could be it. And what better way to do it than one last hurrah with the Knicks? Now, I'll give you my take on it. Personally, I would be okay with it if he came in and understood his role, understood that he is like the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th man on the team. He can play. We can use him. He's still got that shot. But we want him to be able to mentor the young guys. We want him to be able to work with Obi, to continue to work with Julius because they've worked out together. Certain things like that I would want from him to, for him to be here. What do you guys think? John, what do you think?
It's funny because I like Melo. I think he's a great character person, right? He's a great person just in general. I think he holds himself well in front of media, in front of, just he's a well-liked individual around the league. I still think he got game. He may not be as explosive as he used to be, but I think he still got game enough to be a starter in this league. And I think that's how he should be projected, right? Like, he shouldn't be blackballed and not being able to play in the NBA. I don't think his skill level has diminished to that level. Now, he's never been a defensive player. So off the bat, he isn't a Tibbs type player, right? Like, you could assume that that's not the role he's going to play with this Knick team. The problem I have with bringing Melo back to New York is that now you're back at it, right? You're adding another wing player to a already fully loaded wing team. And not only that, you look at Toppin's play over the end of the season, and now you're like, well, what can we find, minutes for Toppin? So there has to be some sort of moves to take place before we even decide on bringing Melo here. I don't think, without making any moves prior to that decision, I don't see it happening. So we would have to see a lot of movement right after or directly after the draft to see any indication if Melo's coming back to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jay Ellis?
I'm on the John train, man. Like, it's the same. For sentimental reasons, I would like Melo to have his farewell tour here, and for me, watching Julius Randle's debacle and implosion last season makes me appreciate Melo's mellowing even more. You know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't. Like, he makes me appreciate that leadership, that I'm not getting rattled. I can boo. I can do what I want. I'm still going to be mellow. I'm still going to appreciate the fans. He exited gracefully, and he moved on. But, like, it makes me appreciate him more, and that's why I want to give him the proper send-off. But every time I feel like I want him back, I look at the roster, look where we are. I'm like, dang, is it the right time right now? Or is it going to disrupt what we have here? And I feel like it will. Like, we have Randle here, who's a starting power forward still. I want him gone, but I'm not certain that moving him is possible at this juncture. Then we have Obi Toppin, who's behind him, and he's barely getting minutes. Like, he's getting like 11. He's been getting 11 minutes a game behind Randle for the half of the season. So where are we? Where's Obi playing minutes now that Melo is here playing power forward? I don't know. Like, the only way, like, unless we move Randle and then like Obi is a power forward, but then I still would want Cam to come in as like a backup 4 and then play part 3 too to see what he has, because it's a contract here for Cam. So, like, I still feel like it's the wrong timing unless magically we move Randle and then maybe Cam as well for another feature piece, and then I'd be like, all right, start Obi, have Melo back him, and then roll the dice. But then I'm still nervous because we have Tibbs, who I feel like might play Melo 30 minutes and have Obi being back there.
You know he will. He will.
That is the thing that I do worry about, because when I look at Melo, he averaged 26 minutes last year. He averaged 13 points. So, like, I mean, he still contributes, but I don't want – if he can average 26 minutes, then that's too many minutes for me, because I know Tibbs look at that like, oh, he still can play. I don't know if I want that either. And I think Melo wouldn't do this, but I could see it would be so funny if, like, Julius did something out there and maybe Tibbs yelled at him and told him something, and he sat on the bench next to Melo, and Melo's like, you gonna let him talk to you like that? Like, that would be hilarious to me, because Melo, you know, he's wild, man. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know if it would happen. And quite frankly, I just don't think that Melo's there yet. I think the only way to bring Melo back here, realistically, is when Melo can't really play anymore. When Melo can just be a bench player who can give you some minutes and give you the Herb Williams treatment, give you the Taj Gibson treatment. Like, and Melo's still got a little bit more game than either of those two guys at this point in his career. So I don't think
I don't want to see a send-off like that, though, Ron. I don't want to see him at the back end of his career, like, saying goodbye like that. I want him to still have a glimpse of what he still had. You know what I mean? Because I think Melo could still score the bucket, right? Like, if he was to come into the Knicks, let's say if things were to be what they were and they were able to trade a few assets, right, and get rid of a few wings. Let's say Burks, you know, Randle, and maybe a Cam get moved for something, right? And Melo comes into play. There's a possibility where you could see him at the 3. You know what I mean? With missing those pieces. Can he defend? No, he never really could. Can he shoot the 3? Yes, he can knock down the 3. And that's really what you need him to do. Knock down the 3, take the pressure off of RJ Barrett, you know, and maybe Grimes, you know. That's the way I want to see him come to the Knicks. But we have to make some moves if that's the case. But he isn't the number one option anymore, and that's the biggest thing. We have to decide as a team, run the team through Barrett. You know what I mean? Like. Right. I think that's where we're at right now.
And then that's the problem. When I look at him, I think that he would be more of he would be, at this point, if we came to the Knicks, then he would be replacing Taj, because we wouldn't want to have Taj and Melo. It's just too much of that right now. Like,
game on the line. Who do you think Tibbs is giving the ball, Melo or RJ?
Melo.
Oh, he's giving it to Melo. Without a question.
And that's the problem. That's the problem right there.
And that actually, another problem is the fact that Melo is a mentor to a lot of these guys. Like, they go to work out with Melo. So when Melo comes on the Knicks, obviously they're going to defer to this dude. It's like, you know, it's not right. It's not the right time. I know, but I hear what you're saying, John, too. We don't want to broke down Melo. Like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, man, that's sad.
You know, it just may not happen. As a lot of people have said, Melo just needs to try again. See if you can get yourself on Phoenix, on Golden State, on Milwaukee, one of these other teams, and make another go at it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
anyway. Yeah, man. I know.
Yeah.
It's you know, we love the beautiful story, but it doesn't look like it's really in the cards for us right now. But we'll see what happens going forward. Anyway, man, I just want to give another shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you for being here and rocking with us. You know, having my man Jay Ellis in the building. Finally, we here. Mama, we made it. So Jay Ellis, I just wanted to ask you, brother, anything you got going on, anything you want to talk about, you want to plug the show, whatever's happening right now, feel free to mention it.
Well, I didn't advertise this yet, but let's say y'all got first to find out. I'm gonna have Corey on the show tomorrow for No Ceilings.
My man Corey Talava.
Yep.
From No Ceilings. Yeah, Corey.
Yeah. We're gonna have him on tomorrow. Also, stay tuned. I've been working on something since last year. Got some hiccups on. Hopefully this year will be ready. So when it's dead said time really in Knicks Nation, hopefully you guys will be entertained and go to our YouTube channel, Knick Time Show, and see some, I'm gonna just say, unique content that I haven't seen anywhere else before. Hopefully you get to actually push that out. And I don't want to say what it is just yet, but stay tuned for that, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. All right, but definitely follow us on YouTube if you haven't already.
Dope. John, any final words, my brother?
Oh, man, as I say every week, man, I want everyone out there to stay blessed, and I am looking forward to the next one.
Hey, man, I couldn't have said it better. John always knows exactly what to say, doesn't he? Yeah, man. So once again, shout out to everybody who joined and watched this show. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. It was a great one. I'm definitely happy that Jay Ellis was here to chop it up with us. You know, as I always say, none of this could be possible without our man Jose in the background holding us down on the ones and twos. My man Jose. No Way Jose, that's right. And don't forget, guys, Jose has his own channel, No Way Jose. Is that 1020? I think it is 1020.
1022. October
1022.
22nd.
Thank you,
Jose. That's
my
birthday, so if you want to get me a gift, you know, I'm more than open.
Okay.
To receive gifts.
Okay, you know what? My anniversary, let's see, it's October 5th. So you said 10/22. So that gives you about a week and change. So you can get me something for the anniversary, and then I'll get you back for your birthday. All right, that works.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
More fire, rhythm beats. Hold on, rewind selector. Anyway, thank you guys once again. As I always say, tell a friend who tells a friend who tells another friend. Still Knick fans, we'll be back again. Next time you'll see us is probably on Thursday for the NBA report. And then we've got the Know the Ledge on Saturday. Now, this Monday coming up, we probably won't be doing a Still Knick Fans Weekly. But then we've got the third installment of our draft special on Tuesday night, guys. So definitely be sure to check that out. And then the next time you'll probably hear from Still Knick fans will be a little while from now. But stay tuned because the NBA draft party is happening Thursday. So I'll be on Nothing But Knicks. We'll be doing the live thing. That should be pretty fun. All right, man. Well, thank you guys once again. Shout out to the chat. We'll see you. It's been real. Appreciate y'all. Jay Ellis, thanks again, man. John, Jose, it's been real.
All right, thanks for having me.